Hi everyone. So today we're going to do another topic on single degree of freedom system, which actually relates with the response due to base excitation. So let us take a look at this system and how do we actually model it, and how do you actually compare with this kind of system with a fixed base. So let's do that now. Okay. So basically this kind of system, if you actually look at it, okay, it actually has another input where the input is not at a fixed base. That's why it's called base excitation. So first of all, let me just go through on the learning outcomes for today's lecture. So basically, as I said, we would like you to differentiate the difference between the two cases where what we call the fixed based, okay, the mass is acted upon a harmonic force. Another case is what we call base excitation, where the support or base is subject to harmonic excitation. So it is different because the source of input is at different location. So we would like you to know how to compute the motion and the equation of motion subject to this harmonic displacement, as well as to compute the force transmitted to the base or the support due to the reactions from the system's spring and dashboard. So before we actually look at that, so maybe it is good to actually see that we are using the same input to the system, which is in the form of harmonically excited, either in a form of a sine function or a cosine function. Okay, whereas the displacement, okay, we designate it in terms of y. The output is x, the input is y. So y is, in this case, we call it y sine t. So the input is also in a form of harmonically excited function. Hi. So now we're gonna take a look at the system what we call harmonically excited vibration of a single degree of freedom system, response due to base excitation. So maybe I would start off with the difference or comparison of the two system. Okay, one is with a harmonically excited single degree of freedom as well, but this one system is basically what we call fixed based. Means the base or the support does not move, so you do have input, the harmonically excited input Ft is at the on the mass, okay, on the mass basically, or at the top of the mass in this figure. Compared to this problem, you basically have your input from the bottom of the spring and damper, or in other words from the support or from the base. Okay, so we call the input as y, yt, and xt is the output. So there is a big difference here where, okay, this is what we call, instead of having a fixed base, we call it based or base excitation. So when we have base excitation, that means if you look at here, your yt is no more, the input is not ft, but your yt, as also shown in this figure on the right hand side of the screen, you actually have the input is also in harmonic motion. Let's say I assume it to be a sine function. Okay, so in this case, the main difference is not just on the type of the base, but also here you have input is Ft, but here input is Y, which is displacement. Maybe I call it in the same term. Here we call it input is equals to Yt. Okay, so this is force, the input is force. This one, the input is displacement. So of course, when we want to derive the equation, it's going to be slightly different because the fixed base, the mass and the spring only moves based on one parameter, which is x. So in this case, you have xt. Actually, it doesn't matter if your direction x is going up or going down. We just follow the standard designations where when your force is going down, your x is going down, so that you get a positive response in that case. So similar as this, because you have the base here going up, so you would want to draw your xt going up. All right. So let us take a look at how do we actually derive the equation of motion based on the free body diagram. So we go first on the free body diagram. So perhaps if you look at this figure, it's quite similar. So let us take a look here. Take a look at the overall. From here, you can do the free body diagram. So remember the steps. You have to draw all the forces based on physical movement or displacement. Okay, in this case, you have your yt, okay, input going up. So your spring, so you draw on the spring first, your spring and your damper is actually in between x and y. So the method here is you have to decide whether it's in tension or compression. So let's say I decide the thing is in tension. So assume tension, yeah. So that's the first thing that you need to do in this case, because the spring and the damper is located in between y and x. So the way you do it is slightly different. So if you assume tension, so this will go like this, yeah. The spring and the damper. Then you draw action, reaction on the mass. Okay. So what is important here, your equation of motion is based on the mass. So you want to draw that, yeah. So you can also draw your base if you want. If not, then it's okay, because your equation of motion is going to be based on. Okay, so we complete the free body diagram. So then you write your equation of motion. So as I said, your equation of motion should be based on the mass. Okay, should be based on the mass. So that's how you write your equation of motion. So based on the mass, you take a look at the forces here. Okay, before you actually can write your equations, basically normally the force for the spring is kx. But now you can see that there are two displacements here. Okay, if I want to, okay, the steps would be basically you need to determine, first you need to determine the relative displacement. So how do you get your relative displacement for the forces? For the forces, for K and also for your C. Because normally we write Kx, but now you have two sides of your K. So you take a look at this arrowhead. So this arrowhead compare to your X. So you can actually see that it is the same direction. So you get positive x. Same as this one. This arrowhead and this arrowhead is the same. So it's the same as your x direction. So then you get positive x dot because this is damper. Okay. So you have this side is owned by y. Okay. So you can see that it goes down, so it's opposite, so you get negative y. So this one as well, you have to compare with y, so you get negative y dot. So the way you write your forces, okay, so then after you determine the relative displacement, okay, basically how do you determine? Based on the direction of respective arrows. On the spring and damper. Okay, I hope you are with me. Okay, what it means by that is you have your spring and damper. Okay, so from there you can determine the plus and the minus. So then only you can write your equation of motion. So first of all, you have to write your k here. So your k here, based on this plus and the minus, so basically x minus y. So same as this one, your c is x dot minus y dot. Okay, then only you can write your equation of motion. So the second part, so you already define all the forces related to it, then you can write your equation of motion, which is mx double dot. Okay, so for m, you only have one displacement, which is x. Okay, but your forces for k and c, you have relative displacement of x and y. So what you need to do, you have to find the relative displacement, which what we did. So take a look at this arrow now. Okay, if you look at this arrow going down means it's opposite, because both arrows x and y goes up is positive. So the designation that we take should be positive going up. So if it's going down, then you get negative. So you have negative k x minus y, and you have a negative c x dot minus y. Alright, so you don't have any other input force, okay, because your input displacement is already embedded in this relative displacement, which is y. So you can actually arrange the equation. Okay, so basically you have this as the equation of motion. If you rearrange the equation of motion, you will get that. Alright, if you actually rearrange or you substitute with another variable, okay, what we call z, because you have a relative displacement of x minus y, okay, then you can actually define x minus y equals to z and assume the solution of harmonic motion. Okay, then it becomes this equation, where you can rearrange because all your mx double dot will become mz, because x is equals to, here your x is equals to z plus y. So when it is actually x double dot, then is equals to z double dot plus y double dot. So that's why you can rearrange the terms in terms of z. Okay, so you have your z, your mx is equals to z double dot plus y double dot. So you bring it to the other side of the equation, then you have your my double dot. Okay, then the rest will become just z dot and z. So that's how you get this expression. So the main thing is just you separate the mx double dot into mz double dot plus my double dot, but you bring it to the other side of the equation. Okay, so from there you should also take note that negative my double dot is equals to, so you take the derivative of y double dot, because your y is equals to y sine omega t, then you would have your y dot is equals to capital Y omega capital Y. You have your omega capital Y cosine omega t, and then you differentiate again negative. That's why you differentiate again, you will get negative omega square, yeah, capital Y sine omega t. So you just need to differentiate twice, and then you times with your m. So this negative times negative, so you will get positive. So that's how you get this equation. And also, if you look at this equation, you can actually match with our previous solution. Yeah. So previous solution, we have force input and output is capital X. So now, whatever that you have in the previous equation, okay, this is actually from the equation X. Remember, you have X f naught over k minus m omega square. So this is for the fixed base. Alright, plus c omega square, everything square root. Okay, so now your capital X becomes whatever variable that you use here, because previously your equation is mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx, isn't it? Equals to ft. So now you are just matching it up. You know, if it's ft, then you go up here in terms of f naught. So maybe I write it in full. So if I write it f sine omega t, so this is for fixed base, okay, and this is for base, okay, this is for excitation base, okay, or when you have base excitation. So when you have base excitation, the variable is in terms of z, so that's why you have this capital Z. Then your input is in terms of m omega square y, so it's actually your f naught here, okay. So that's why you have it in terms of f naught. So this is actually matching up with your f naught, that's why you have this term. Then the rest should be the same. So hopefully you can see the comparison. Okay, and then in the previous or in the fixed base, you have phi. So here we introduce chi. Okay, and then you have exactly the same equation, c omega. So this one doesn't change because you do not have any variable related to z or x, so it's the same, yeah. Okay, whereas this one you just change the variable. Okay, so that's basically how we derive the equation of motion.